Hey, what's up you guys? It's Gabby and welcome back to the vlog channel. Today we're doing a little May wrap up because this month was kind of a good reading month for me. At least I read a total of 7 books, and these books, okay, I feel very strongly about. Also, it's really dark out today because it's been gloomy for the last week, so that's why we have this ring light here. So the first book that we're going to be talking about was the only book that I DNF'd this month, and that's gonna be Tasting Red by Holly Roberts. Yeah, this book should be banned. I'm sorry. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good enough to even get a 2-star rating from me or for me to even bother finishing the book. Now, I am counting this book towards my total reading goal for this year because I got 62% of the way through it, and I feel like that's an accomplishment considering all the other girls in my book club didn't even get past like 8%. So I'm gonna be proud of myself for that one. This book was marketed as a Red Riding Hood retelling. It was dark romance. It was supposed to be like reluctant allies, enemies to lovers, type B. Yeah, no, they bone in the first 24 pages. Swear. And then there are multiple different scenes where they are, for lack of better words, and trying not to get demonetized, they were pleasing themselves through a door, onto said door. Yeah, I don't even remember what the plot of this was, but I think it was like Red, who quite literally, of course, has red hair. She is a human who is the granddaughter of like this really world famous cookie witch who puts like magic into cookies that people eat, and then humans can have magic. And then our MMC, can't remember his name. We're just gonna call him Wolfie because he's literally a werewolf. And he gets hired to delete Red's grandmother and then meets her instead at said grandmother's house. And then after he comes out of grandma's bathroom instead of grandma, Red is actually in heat. Literal heat. And she jumps his bones immediately. And then mid-stroke, guess what happens? Ice Mage shows up and tries to take Red. For what reason? 62% of the way through the book, I still didn't know. I still didn't know why. And I don't care. It was so bad. This should be categorized as erotica. It's not dark romance. There was no dark and there was no romance. There's also no plot. There's no real character development. There's no actual real attraction between these two people other than the female main character is in heat and the other one is quite literally a dog. So, this book has an average rating of 4.01. Sorry, what? I don't know why anybody would rate this over a 1-star. I did DNF it, and normally I don't rate books if I don't make it half of the way through, but I did. I made it 62% of the way through, so I rated it a 1-star, and I am counting it towards my reading goal. But that's really all I have to say on that. And I just thought that I would get that negativity out of the way off rip. And also warn you guys that that book is just not good. Now, just understand that that's the only bad book that we read this month, thank God, because the rest of them were pretty good, okay? We listened to, the only other book that I don't have on physical is Loud by DNF Warewolf. This is a nonfiction memoir style book commentary about patriarchy, pick-me-ism, women and our role in society, relationships, and she tells all of this through not just telling her own real life stories and experiences, which by the way was extremely articulate and so well written, but she tells her experiences while also giving facts, statistics, and explaining certain concepts. Drew honestly blew me out of the water with this book. Sometimes when influencers or famous people write books, sometimes you feel almost nervous to read them because when you like them, you don't want to dislike their books. As a reader, you're very critical of books. At least I am. I listened to it on audio. It was so good. I enjoyed it. and I highly recommend all women read that book. It was so empowering. It was really educational. It was also really eye-opening to certain things, like having sympathy for pick-me's and understanding where they're coming from and understanding that all of us have been there. She just goes into so many different things about feminism and relationships and, you know, setting standards for yourself and truly accepting that you deserve to have a happy and good life. And I just really enjoyed that. So that was a 5-star for me personally. Highly recommend it. Now, after I listened to Loud, I ended up also listening to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. The audiobook for this is top tier, okay? This was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It was giving me cozy, almost Nancy Drew vibes, like sleuthing and investigative work and mysteries and different twists, and the character arcs in this are so good and truly just such a good story. I was entertained so quickly, especially reading the audiobook for this. I was hooked, okay? I read this in 2 days, or I guess listened to this in literally just 2 days while sitting and doing like a little diamond puzzle thing. I was obsessed with this. This follows Pip, who is doing a senior assignment based off of this case that was famous in her hometown a couple of years ago, where this girl went missing and she is believed to have been unalived by her boyfriend at the time, who is the brother of the male main character in this book. And she starts to investigate because she does not think that he was guilty, because she actually was familiar with him and she knew him through her friend's older sister who was in the same grade as him. And she begins doing some serious investigative work and finally cracks the case, and it is so good. So definitely check this out. I gave this a 4 stars because it was extremely captivating. I was entertained the whole time. Again, the character development in this book is really good. It's well written. I rarely was bored, if at all. I can't think of a single time during this book that I was uninterested. It's fast paced, but just the right amount. And I ate this up. So definitely recommend if you guys are looking for a cozy, warm YA mystery thriller. This is definitely it. I know that there are other books in the series, so at some point I'd definitely love to pick them up, but for now, this was so good, and I've never even seen the Netflix show, so I think I have to now, because if it's anything like this book, it's gonna be good. Then I finished Kennedy Ryan's Before I Let Go. This 5-star read for me, okay? I ate this up. Okay, Josiah and Yasmin in this book are so addicting. The yearning, the pain, the grief that they experience. This is a second chance romance, and we're following Yasmin and Josiah after they've already been divorced. They have 2 kids, and about 2 or 3 years before this takes place, they unfortunately lost their child due to a miscarriage in an accident that Yasmin had, and it was extremely really sad. Definitely check your trigger warnings. But the story is so good. The characters feel so real. I had no problem diving deep into this story and deep into this book instantly. I was hooked. I felt like the love story was very much believable. The characters, you could root for these characters. They're so amazing. The kids in this book are such a just extra light in the book. And honestly, a lot of people have said this about this book, but it is so true. This feels just so real. This feels like somebody's story is being exposed to me, and they're telling me their struggles in their relationship, and I'm watching them live through it in real life, because that is how realistic and believable the story is. And truly, that is one of the biggest things for me when reading. If I feel like this isn't believable, obviously if it's, you know, fantasy or whatnot, it doesn't need to be believable, but the romance has to be there, and this has that. This will melt your heart, okay? The journey that this goes on, I look forward to reading the next 2 books in this trilogy, which, by the way, the last one just came out, and I am so excited to read these, and definitely recommend you read this. This is a 5-star read for me. Don't miss it. This is one of those book talk books that you have to pick up. You just have to. Okay. Then on audio, I picked up the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I read the first 2 books this month, and they were both so good. I gave Once Upon a Broken Heart 4 stars and The Ballad of Never After 5 stars. This is giving just such cute Disney-esque, magical, romantic, cute, YA romantasy, but mostly fantasy. Honestly, the romance in both of these books kind of takes a back seat, even though our FMC Evangeline is very much obsessed with this idea of true love and romance, and she yearns for true love and happiness and her one true love. She wants that more than anything in the entire world. And in the first book, Evangeline strikes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, who is Jack's RMMC, and things kind of don't really go how she was expecting it to go. They go on an adventure. She faces challenges and problems and ends up being sent off to the north where her mother is from, which her mother and her father have passed away, and she now is under the care of her evil stepmom. She's not really evil, at least not so far, but she doesn't really care for Evangeline, and so she takes the opportunity that is given to her by the empress of this kingdom to go off to the north to be a part of this event where the Prince of the North ends up choosing a bride, and it's just balls and gowns and parties for about a month until he finds his bride, and then she runs into Jack's in the north, and it gets crazy. And then this book picks up after some crazy things happen. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but just know that the yearning in this, chef's kiss. Stephanie Gerber does such a good job of setting a landscape for creating this emotion of just like childlike wonder and magic, and it just, honestly, it feels like walking around at Disney World. For me, I genuinely enjoyed this. This is such a good YA fantasy trilogy. I do have the third book in physical. I will be reading it this month, and I highly recommend you guys definitely check this out. I was really hesitant because I know that this takes place in the Caravel universe, and I haven't read Caravel, but I felt like in the past when I've heard about it or people talk about it, it doesn't seem like something that would be appealing to me. However, after reading this, Stephanie Gerber's writing, I think I want to exist in that world. So we might be going and reading and picking up the Caravel books. I think that there's 3, I believe. Oh, there is 3. So I definitely might be picking up the Caravel books because these were good. Now, for my 24-hour readathon, I read Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven. This book, I gave it 3.5 stars. I know, okay? If you've heard anything about this book, tons of people love this. It is a YA romantasy. It's got a little bit of like historical fiction, super cool. It follows 2 different timelines. It follows Arden and Evelyn as they go through time. They are fated to ruin each other every single year before their 18th birthday. Arden finds Evelyn and deletes her. And Evelyn cannot figure it out, but they are constantly pulled to each other in every single lifetime, and they've been doing this for 1,000 years or something like that. And then it follows the present timeline, which takes place in 2022, and Evelyn is living in this small town with her mother and her sister who is sick. Now, her sister needs a bone marrow transplant, and Evelyn happens to be the only match for her, and in order to get her procedure done and speed it up, she needs to do it through a private practice, and she is struggling to find an appointment before her 18th birthday where Arden is going to find her. Now, she thinks that she's figured out who Arden is because sometimes he hides in her life. And also, I say he, but he is just a he in this lifetime. Over the course of time, they have switched genders. They have been the same gender. They have been opposite genders. This is truly a love story of love knows no bounds. This doesn't matter if they've both been men or women or one or the other or swapped genders. Their love prevails, and Evelyn has no idea why Arden keeps coming for her, but we do find out by the end. And I enjoyed this. I just felt like the love story wasn't believable. I know that we get tons of flashbacks of their love story and all of this time that they've spent together, but I still had trouble actually believing that they were in love because I felt like I kept being told they're in love, they're in love, they're in love, they're fated, they're this, they're that, true love. But I never really felt it. And that was my only gripe with this. I thought it was good. I thought it was okay. And I felt like this concept has really good potential. I feel like it's kind of an original story. My boyfriend said that it sounds like Seven Deadly Sins. I've never seen that, so I don't really know. But it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was cozy, it was cute, but I did have trouble caring about the story because, again, I didn't find their love believable, but that's just me. Now, the next book that we're going to talk about ruined me. I read Fearless by Lauren Roberts this month, and when I tell you this book, I had 3 separate breakdowns while reading this book. Okay, and I know a lot of people are angry about Reckless. A lot of people didn't want to pick this book up. A lot of people didn't end up picking this book up because they were really disappointed with Reckless. But when I tell you, this is a 5-star read. This book was so much fun in the beginning and not that fun at the end, but in a good way. In a very good way. In the beginning, we're going on adventures with Peyton as she begins to try and prove herself to the kingdom of Ilya so that she can become their queen. She has to go through a series of trials, and in those trials, she goes on different adventures, and we learn more things about this world, which honestly, I want to pinpoint that you can definitely tell a difference in Lauren Roberts' writing from Fearless to the first book, and especially Reckless, because the world building in this was so much better than it is in the other 2 books. This feels like she really put a lot of thought into world building, and not in like a world building vomit where it's just like, this is how this is and this is how that is, and in that sort of style of world building, but through actual experiences that the characters have, we learn more about this world, about the surrounding kingdoms around Ilya, and about Ilya's lore. Then in the second half, we don't have that good of a time, and I sobbed. I sobbed my eyes out. So honestly, Lauren, this redeemed the Powerless trilogy for me. I am so happy that I decided to pick this up. If you were debating whether or not you should pick it up, I think you should. If you enjoyed Powerless, but you didn't like Reckless, and you're thinking that you won't read this, just read it. I know that you're mad. I know that you're upset that Reckless wasn't good, but this is everything that Reckless should have been, okay? And my honest belief is that the first 150 to 200 pages of this, mixed with the first 50 pages and the last 100 pages of Reckless, could have been its own second book, and then the last like 400 pages of this would have been a perfect ending to the whole series. But that's not what we got, unfortunately. But at least we have this. At least we have this. Fearless redeemed the trilogy for me. I definitely will be reading future works of Lauren Roberts because, like I said, I can definitely tell a difference in the advancement of her skill from Powerless to Fearless. I enjoyed this so much. This had me literally sobbing in a public restroom. Okay? Highly recommend. Definitely check this out. So yeah, these are all the books that I read in the month of May. If you guys have read any of these or you have any suggestions of what I should read in the month of June, definitely comment them down below. I love you guys so much. I hope you guys are having an amazing, wonderful day, and I will see you guys next Friday with another new video. Bye!